The Eerie oil tanker, in the early 1990s, at a railway maintenance depot in Tianjin, under the Beijing Railway Bureau's jurisdiction, theft was common among workers. They often stole items like rice, appliances, and clothing from freight trains for personal use or resale. One day, after an oil tanker passed through Tianjin and underwent routine maintenance, it was sent to a chemical plant in Hebei. When workers opened the bottom valve to unload oil, one tank wouldn't drain. Using a stick, they found the tank was still full. Suspecting a blockage, they opened the top hatch to siphon the oil. Once emptied, they discovered a body blocking the valve. The deceased was dressed in a railway worker's uniform and identified as an employee from the Tianjin depot. Investigators concluded that the man was stealing oil when the train suddenly moved. He lost his balance, fell into the tanker, and drowned. His body was trapped in the slick, smooth walls of the tank, unable to escape. When the man's family was informed, his 5-year-old daughter was left behind. She said, "Daddy came home 2 nights ago and said he was thirsty. He left again after drinking water." Her innocent words still haunt those involved, as it seemed the man's spirit had indeed returned, seeking water. The photo in The Sixth Sense. One weekend, Captain Zhang, a former forensic photographer, visited my home. As we flipped through old photos, he noticed a group picture from my elementary school. Pointing to one of my classmates, he asked, "Is this boy still alive?" I replied, "No, he died in a car accident during 6th grade." Zhang explained that the boy's face looked gray and lifeless in the photo. Though I couldn't see it, Zhang attributed his observation to his professional instinct. Years earlier, that classmate had joked about his palm lines during gym class. A friend teasingly said, "You have a short lifeline." A month later, the boy tragically died when a bus struck him while he was riding a bicycle. Driver Kui shared a story about his uncle, a trucker in Tibet. One day, Kui's uncle found an elderly lama lying by a desolate roadside. The man was weak but breathing. Kui's uncle gave him water and food, offering him a ride. The lama refused, insisting on completing his pilgrimage on foot. Before parting, the lama said, "I'll repay your kindness. 10 years from now, I'll give you another chance at life." Years later, Kui's uncle was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Doctors sent him home to die, and his family began funeral preparations. One night, he dreamed of the lama repeating his promise. The next day, he instructed his family not to bury him immediately after death. 3 days after being declared dead, Kui's uncle suddenly revived. Over time, his health improved, and his cancer vanished, leaving the doctors baffled. The story became a local legend, a testament to kindness and fate. A murder case involving a woman's death puzzled the police. Though the crime scene showed no signs of forced entry, the case remained unsolved. During a revisit to the apartment, the victim's son claimed to see a hand reaching for him from the ceiling at night. Skeptical but intrigued, I investigated further. At night, using a flashlight, I discovered a faint handprint on a window. The print's pinky finger was shorter than usual. The family recalled a carpenter with such a deformity who had worked on their home years ago. Investigators found that the carpenter had kept a spare key. He confessed to the crime, revealing that he had scouted the house beforehand, leaving the overlooked handprint. In a village, a family of 3 was brutally murdered by a young man seeking revenge. The parents had opposed their daughter's relationship with him, leading to escalating tensions. The young man eventually killed the entire family in a fit of rage. What was eerie about the case was a prior warning from a traveling fortune teller. Days before the murders, the father had insisted on a reading. The fortune teller refused, saying, "I can't take your money. Just make sure to tie your dog tightly in the coming days." The cryptic warning went unheeded, and the murders occurred after the family's dog mysteriously disappeared, leaving the house unprotected. A wealthy homeowner installed infrared alarms around their property. Every night at 1 a.m., the alarms would trigger, but guards found nothing amiss. After days of fruitless investigations, the police installed night vision cameras. One night, the cameras caught a white blur moving along the wall. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be a large white cat. The case, which had baffled security personnel and police, ended with a sigh of relief and a lesson in unlikely culprits. In the 1980s, a university prohibited students from dating. A young couple, both from rural backgrounds, defied the rules. When the girl became pregnant, the school expelled them. With no future prospects, the couple decided to end their lives together. One night, they tied their hands together and jumped into a nearby pond. Days later, their bodies were found, still holding hands. The tragic story haunted those who witnessed it, as the couple had no chance to rewrite their destinies. A teacher was murdered in her apartment with no clear signs of a break-in. Investigators determined it was likely someone she knew. After months of no leads, the case seemed cold. Then, the victim's child claimed to see a shadowy hand reaching from the ceiling. This led to a discovery of a unique fingerprint on a window, visible only under certain lighting conditions. The print matched a former worker who had access to the apartment. The man was arrested and confessed, proving that even the faintest trace could solve a case.